streaming on crossroadstoday.com. Vice President Harris conceding the presidential election, now offering to help in the transition of powers. And Hurricane Rafael makes landfall as a Category 3 in Cuba. How the storm slammed the country, just ahead. Plus, a plea deal for 9/11 conspirators can now move forward. We'll tell you more coming up.
And we are still expecting the next fall cold front to come our way overnight Friday night into Saturday morning. That's going to bring us some showers for the next couple mornings. We'll look at that, but we're going to continue looking at Hurricane Rafael that will be coming towards us real soon. All that and the weather coming up.
And UHV women's soccer looks to win their quarterfinal match versus Xavier University in Louisiana. That's coming up in sports.
You're watching 25 News Now Sunrise. Good morning and thank you for joining us on this Friday Eve.
Yes, there you go.
As Parker likes to say.
I like to call it Friday Eve because it gets everybody excited. It's tomorrow.
Well, I'm excited for the weekend. I've got a little bit of a road trip in store on Saturday, but I'm going to come back. And what can I expect weather-wise,
Weather-wise, you could expect a very nice and bit of a sunny weekend because that front is still on pace to come through overnight Friday night into Saturday morning. But yes, you are right, Carolina. Look at the fog that we're dealing with out there this morning. You're looking live in Victoria. I'm going to go ahead and take a guess that visibility right here you're looking at is probably down to a quarter mile. In fact, look at this computer. Let's see what this one says. This one says a mile, but we're going to look at the visibility map here in just a second to confirm. Maybe I might be right, but 74 Victoria, dew point matching that is bringing us the fog at 100% humidity. Looking at the visibility map, let's see. This one says a half mile, but I was looking at the camera, that looked like a quarter mile. So that's definitely enough for me to say this is dangerous fog out there this morning, so please be careful on the roads before it clears up between 7:30 to 8:30 this morning. But another thing that we're experiencing out there this morning is actually a few scattered light showers and a couple sprinkles as well. But other than that, you can also see this special weather statement issued and that tan polygon issued for that fog out there this morning that's going to expire when that fog clears between 7:30 to 8:30. But our temperatures, we are looking at completely different temperatures from yesterday morning, mid-70s, all thanks to that southeasterly wind that brought all the humidity and warm air out of the Gulf. And that southeasterly wind is going to bring a northern warm day today before the front arrives, and we're going to look at that coming up next.
Vice President Kamala Harris delivered her concession speech at Howard University in Washington Wednesday afternoon. The VP's remarks come after she decided not to speak on election night in what was supposed to be a celebratory event for her campaign. Harris's remarks cap her historically brief campaign, telling the crowd that she had called the president-elect to congratulate him. Harris emphasizing the importance of a peaceful transfer of power and delivering a message of hope to her supporters. Later, we'll go to Washington for more. The White House says President Joe Biden spoke with President-elect Donald Trump Wednesday and congratulated him on his victory. An official says Biden expressed his commitment to ensure a smooth transition and emphasized the importance of working to bring the country together. He also invited Trump to meet with him at the White House. Biden also spoke with Vice President Kamala Harris and congratulated her on her historic campaign. Biden will address the nation from the Rose Garden at 11 a.m. later this morning. Hurricane Rafael made landfall in western Cuba Wednesday afternoon as a powerful Category 3 major hurricane before weakening in the overnight. Powerful winds knocked out the country's power grid. Thousands of people were evacuated between Tuesday and Wednesday in western provinces for residing in low-lying or dangerous areas. It's another blow for Cuba, which is facing the aftermath of a hurricane that passed through 2 weeks ago and left at least 8 dead in the eastern part of the island. RFK raising concerns about processed foods in America. He could now take a role in Trump's administration as Secretary of Human Health Services. And one of the first items on his agenda, ridding popular cereals of what he calls harmful chemicals.
This morning, a focus on Froot Loops by Robert Kennedy Jr., who's expected to take a major role overseeing public health in the new Trump administration.
Why do we have Froot Loops in this country that have 18 or 19 ingredients, and you go to Canada and it's got 2 or 3?
Kennedy has raised concerns about the health effects of processed foods. He's not alone. Protesters recently gathered outside Kellogg's, demanding artificial dyes be removed from the cereal.
I'm here for the mom. All the moms who struggle to feed their children healthy food without added chemicals.
But experts warn not to jump to conclusions.
If you compare a box of Froot Loops from the United States and Canada, you will see they have roughly the same number of ingredients. The big difference is in what is being used for dyes. In Canada, it's a natural dye. such as carrot, watermelon, or blueberry juice, whereas in the United States, they're using artificial dyes like red 40, blue 1, and yellow 5 and 6.
Studies have claimed those dyes could cause behavioral problems in some kids. The FDA has said most kids have no adverse effects, and Kellogg says its ingredients meet federal standards. But it's those standards Kennedy apparently wants to focus on, saying this yesterday about the staff at the FDA's nutrition department.
In some categories of workers, there are entire departments, like the nutrition departments at FDA, that have to go, that are not doing their job. They're not protecting our kids.
His potential future boss saying this about the power RFK could have.
I'm going to let him go wild on health. I'm going to let him go wild on the food.
Back in Trump's previous administration, Trump rolled back former First Lady Michelle Obama's healthier school lunch plan. But with RFK, Trump appears to be taking a step in a different direction.
In recent years, Americans have become a little bit more aware about the impact of processed foods and what that may be having on rising rates of chronic disease and obesity. But what we need to remember is that processed foods diet is not the only culprit for the rise in chronic disease. We also have to pay attention to environment, genetics, the fact that children are more sedentary now, they're on their screens.
RFK has also pushed to remove fluoride from drinking water. And he's a vaccine skeptic, but he said yesterday he won't be taking away anyone's vaccines. Andrea Fujii, ABC News, New York.
And that leads us to your viewer poll. You can scan the QR code on your screen to take part. We want to know, do you enjoy or avoid processed foods? Okay, let's take a look. 56% of you say you enjoy processed foods and 44% of you say you avoid them. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part in our viewer poll. A military judge has ruled the plea deals for the 9/11 conspirators can move forward. In July, the U.S. reached plea deals with the 9/11 mastermind Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and 2 other defendants. Days later, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin tried to revoke the agreement, saying he was the superior conveying authority. Wednesday's ruling means the men could eventually be sentenced to life in prison and avoid death sentences. A man is arrested on a capital murder charge in Matagorda County. Bay City police arrested 22-year-old Kaylin Fortuna, who was being held in a Florida jail on unrelated charges. Fortuna is charged in the murder of 27-year-old Joshua Muniz of Bay City on June 6, 2023. Officers were sent to a house fire that day where they found Muniz dead with multiple gunshot wounds. Fortuna is in the Matagorda County Jail with a bond set at $2 million. A 2-vehicle collision sent one person to a local hospital. The wreck happened at the intersection of Mockingbird Lane and Laurent Street around 8 o'clock Wednesday night. Authorities tell us that one person was transported to the hospital with unknown injuries. Placido's water department is awarded more than $3 million for water and wastewater projects. The Texas Water Development Board approved financial assistance for the Victoria County Water Control and Improvement District Number 2. The assistance will be used to replace its cast iron water lines with PVC piping, build a new 30,000-gallon ground storage tank, and expand its wastewater treatment plant from 72,000 gallons per day to 100,000 gallons per day. Ever wonder what happens when a heart surgeon swaps the operating room for a classroom? Dr. Yahagi once led life-saving surgeries in Victoria, and now he's trading his scalpel for science experiments at Ganado High School. Now he's inspiring the next generation of students, not just with lessons in science, but with life lessons that go way beyond the textbook. Find out how this award-winning teacher is leaving his mark in ways no one expected. Don't miss this 25 News Now Extra tonight at 10. And here are some of the top headlines you can read in the Port Lavaca Wave. Port Lavaca starts a recycling pilot program, and Port Lavaca will honor veterans November 11th at the Bauer Community Center. You can read these stories and more at portlavacawave.com. And remember to follow us on our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. Let's get a look at our clock up here. It is just about 6:40 on our Thursday morning. Here's a look at what's coming up on 25 News Now Sunrise. The Mile High City seeing snowfall this week. We take a look.
Former President Donald Trump is headed back to the White House. I'm Christiane Cordero from Washington with what happens next coming up.
And also coming up next after the break in the full forecast, you saw me have my rain tie on. We're going to take a look at the timing for the rain that's possible out there today. But also coming up later on Sunrise, we're going to continue looking at Hurricane Rafael because that's going to be coming real close to us real soon. Well, good morning, Crossroads. You're looking live in Cuero. Look at that. That sun's starting to come up. And you can actually see some of that fog starting to decrease as that sun's coming up, kind of heating up the land, which is good for us because we have a little bit of dense fog in some areas out there this morning. So please be careful out on the roads. But it's 73 this morning in Cuero. You do 1 degree off, bringing the humidity to 98%. And this computer says a 1 mile visibility, but that looks a little bit further than 1 mile. I might say 2 or 3 miles out there. Just nonetheless, be careful on the roads this morning before that fog clears. But looking at your future clouds and radar for today, we actually have just a few scattered, very, very light showers, a couple sprinkles out there right now. But don't worry if you don't see the rain right now. We're going to have another chance as we go into the later morning, because here's 8 a.m. and then we go into the later morning, 9 a.m., 10 a.m., and 11 a.m. I think we're going to start seeing some showers start to become more scattered in nature as that sun comes up, heating up the land, bringing us some rain. But then I think all of the rain should start becoming more isolated in nature and then fully cutting off as we go into the mid and late afternoon today, bringing us right back to the mostly sunny and sunny skies for the afternoon, later afternoon, and the early evening tonight. But looking at your temperatures today with that sun peeking through the clouds and through some of the rain today, I'm thinking a high of about 86 here in Victoria. I don't know why this computer thinks 80. But everywhere else, you're going to see around the same thing in the mid 80s. Unless you see the rain today, I'm thinking highs in the low 80s if you do see that rain. But if you add all that up, I think it's going to be a great day, honestly, to go down to the beach or go fishing out there. Slightly choppy waves, 1 to 2 feet, and your water's still pretty warm in the upper 70s and the low 80s. But coming away over the weekend, we're still expecting that next fall front and another one next week. We're going to look at that in the tropics coming up next.
Now today we have some soccer action with UHB women's soccer team trying to stay alive and do well in the quarterfinal match versus Xavier University in Louisiana. The game will start at 11 a.m. The Jaguars, they are right now the number 6 seed there on the postseason. Xavier is the number 3 seed. The Jaguars, they have 2 top goal scorers in last week's Athlete of the Week, in Kylie Spree-Kolash and then Estelle Flanagan. But their defense has stepped up as well here in the past couple of weeks. Anna Marie Munoz and Trine Sternup-Jorgensen have been huge here for the Jaguars as of late. And both the offense and defense hope they can make some big plays, because if the Jaguars win, they'll either face LSU Alexandria or Texas A&M Texarkana. That will be next week. This is Max Williams, 25 News Now Sports.
President-elect Trump's commanding wind swept through every battleground state that has been called so far. He took the call from Vice President Harris yesterday, soon before she addressed the nation to publicly concede.
This morning, a new administration is in the works. Former President Trump will return to the White House with support from at least one chamber of Congress and a list of priorities. The country's deep division on full display when Vice President Harris addressed the nation at her alma mater of Howard University and conceded.
The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for, but hear me when I say, the light of America's promise will always burn bright. As long as we never give up and as long as we keep fighting.
Before delivering her remarks, Harris said she called Trump to congratulate him.
I also told him that we will help him and his team with their transition, and that we will engage in a peaceful transfer of power.
A spokesman for the president-elect saying Trump acknowledged Vice President Harris on her strength, professionalism, and tenacity throughout the campaign, adding both leaders agreed on the importance of unifying the country. Trump and his team are now tasked with filling about 4,000 government positions, 1,200 requiring Senate confirmation. Sources tell ABC News Trump is starting to vet potential candidates for his cabinet. Some meetings were attended by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who dropped out of the presidential race and backed Trump, and who Trump has vowed will have control of the public health system. Sources also say Trump is preparing a list of executive actions he could take on day one. He has pledged to bring down inflation, impose tariffs on foreign goods, and conduct the largest mass deportation in American history.
And every citizen, I will fight for you, for your family, and your future.
President Biden has spoken with Harris and Trump and has remarks scheduled for later today from the Rose Garden at 11 a.m. Eastern. Cristiano Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
Snow season has arrived in Denver. This is the first storm of the season for the Mile High City, although other areas of Colorado saw snow earlier in the week. Denver's plows were called into action for the first time this season, and they'll likely be needed later this week with another round of snow possible Friday night. And here are some of the top headlines you can read in the Courier-Record. Constable Kelly Phelps responds to questions from the DeWitt County Commissioner's Court. Plus, a Veterans Day ceremony will be held Monday at the DeWitt County Veterans Center. You can read these stories and more at DeWittCountyToday.com. And the time is now 6:47 on our Thursday morning. Still to come, how do a lack of sleep and mental health issues affect our brain health? We learn more after the break.
Well, good morning, Crossroads. I'm sure a lot of you are still expecting that next fall cold front coming our way over this weekend. Well, I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of surprise here. We got another one coming our way next week. I'm thinking on Wednesday night into Thursday morning, and we're going to look at those temperatures now. Starting out on Tuesday afternoon before that front arrives, we're going to continue picking up that southeasterly Gulf wind that's going to continue bringing us back into the highs of mid and upper 80s for Tuesday afternoon. But then that front's going to come through on Wednesday night. Like I said, it's going to be one more warm day on Wednesday before here comes that front. You can actually see kind of just a light outline of it passing through us overnight Wednesday night into Thursday morning, bringing us right back into, I'm thinking the mid and upper 70s. This is the European model. It thinks that we're going to be in the low 70s and upper 60s for highs on Thursday. But what those two fronts that are going to be coming through our area over the next week are going to do is it's going to make things a little bit interesting, kind of confusing out there in the Gulf. I'm going to make it a little bit more clear for y'all right now. We're looking at Hurricane Rafael, which is still a strong Category 2 hurricane, only 5 miles an hour away from being a Category 3, which you need 110 miles an hour for. It's at 105. But you will notice it just exited the northern coast of Cuba earlier this morning. And why that's important is because the northern half of the storm that contains the easterly strong winds coming out of the east moving west is going to push it westward as we go all the way into this week and into this weekend and early next week. It's going to be parking itself real close to us. I'm talking like maybe 300-400 miles away from our coast, bringing us to probably some high rip currents and maybe some other stuff as well. But I do not think it's going to come our way because we have a couple of cold fronts come through the area as we go. The couple of cold fronts that I was just talking about, those are going to act as little, I like to call them blockers or force fields, keeping everything away from us, shunting it away. But looking at over the next 2 to 3 weeks, we are not done yet with tropical activity because the Climate Prediction Center has chances at 20 to 40% right there in the Caribbean for week 2 and week 3 as we go into later this November. So we're going to have more details on that next week and more later on Sunrise.
What causes brain aging to vary dramatically between people? A new paper suggests that about half of the variability in people's cognition at older ages, why some people may have greater cognition decline than others, may already have been present in their childhood. Lifestyle factors such as exercising, avoiding tobacco, speaking a second language, or playing a musical instrument add up to about 20% of the differences seen in declines across the ages of 70 to 82. In contrast, poor sleep and mental health issues are key risk factors for developing dementia. Low-income families will soon pay less when adding money to students' school lunch accounts. The U.S. Department of Agriculture recently announced a new rule. It will ban schools from charging junk fees for adding funds to school lunch accounts of families that qualify for free or reduced breakfast and lunch. One study from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau estimates low-income families pay 60 cents in processing fees for each dollar they spend on school lunch. It officially takes effect in the 2027-2028 school year. Still to come on Sunrise, news to know before you go. This year is shaping up to be one for the record books and not in a good way. This year is shaping up to be one for the record books and not in a good way. New data suggests it will be the hottest year on record. Europe's Copernicus Climate Change Service says it is virtually certain that global temperatures will be more than 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Nearly all the world's countries pledged to keep global warming below that threshold in the Paris Agreement. The new data comes as President-elect Donald Trump has vowed to pull the U.S. out of the Paris Agreement, which he previously did during his first term. 2 wildfires are exploding just outside of Los Angeles. Multiple people are hurt as rapidly growing wildfires burn and threaten homes outside of LA. Forecasters say powerful winds and dry conditions are creating a particularly dangerous situation. The broad fire is in Malibu, a coastal suburb of LA. Officials say the bigger concern is the mountain fire nearby Ventura County. No injuries have been reported as a result of the broad fire in Malibu. NASA's Quest mission has marked a major milestone in achieving quiet supersonic sound. A team has started engine testing for the X-59, a low-noise supersonic experimental aircraft. The test will confirm the aircraft systems are working together while powered by its own engine. The testing is taking place at Lockheed Martin Skunk Works facility in Palmdale, California. The X-59's first flight is now expected in early 2025. It is hoped to provide information to regulators to enable them to lift the bans on commercial supersonic flights over land. Donald Trump captured 55% of Latino voters in Texas. That's according to exit polls. He also won 14 out of the 18 counties within 20 miles of the border, a number that doubled his 2020 performance in the Latino majority region. You can read this story and more by the Texas Tribune on our website, crossroadstoday.com. And we want to invite y'all to experience our digital streaming service, Crossroads Today Plus. You can find it on your connected TV through Amazon Fire TV, Roku, Apple TV, Android TV. Just search for Crossroads Today Plus. And now let's take a look at our coastal sunrise, where the fog seems to have cleared, but it may still be a threat inland.
That's right, Carolina. We're not looking at too much in terms of fog down there in Port Lavaca right now with that sun coming up, kind of letting that dew point get a little bit further away from that temperature. But some areas in the inland counties might still be seeing some of that thicker fog. We're still looking at visibilities down to a quarter mile, maybe even less than that. So please be careful on the roads before that fog clears over the next hour to hour and a half. But right now it's 77 in Port Lavaca. A huge difference from yesterday morning. And lots of us were in the low 50s. All that thanks to the southeasterly wind. It says east right now, but I promise that's going to be southeast later this afternoon. And that's going to continue moistening our upper atmosphere, bringing us some more rain chances today. I've got chances today at 40%, and we actually have a couple of scattered showers out there right now, and you can actually see where they have the special weather statement issue for the fog this morning. But zooming in on where all the rain is, you can see it's pretty much all north of Highway 59 this morning. But if you don't see it, like I said, don't worry. Chances at 40% today and tomorrow, mostly for the morning times, because all the rain should be all said and done as we go into the afternoon time today, getting up to about 85 for Port Lavaca. A little bit, actually about the same, and maybe a little bit warmer in Victoria. I'm thinking 86 today for the high. Also shower activity cutting off in the afternoon, and about the exact same thing all the way around for the forecast for Cuero as Victoria. 86 rain cutting off in the afternoon. So everybody get excited for the next fall cold front coming away this weekend. And guess what? We've got another one coming our way next week. A bit of a temperature roller coaster thing going on.
All right, let's strap in and get ready for the ride.
Go up, then back down, up and down.
All right, thank you for joining us. Remember to tune in to Shauna, Dawn, Mac, and Max for 25 News Now at 5, 6, and 10.